I'm really pleased to have that people here on the stage and in the forum. We have a lot of representatives of EB and Ukraine. We are the only in Ukraine, and it's again about entrepreneurship, but family entrepreneurship. I am the part of the board of Aspen Europe. I am the co-president, vice president of the charity, one of the charity foundation in Ukraine, and I've been working in media expertise for 30 years. And I'm really glad to start our panel from million to nothing, from nothing to million, how to develop a company. And I'm really pleased to introduce all of our speakers and participants. I hope we're going to be very dynamic today, so please welcome Natalia, Yeremeyeva, the founder and CEO of Stekloplast, 20 years for the company. It's a nationwide company that now connects a factory, modern factory. She has her business with her husband and thinks there's no obstacles for a woman to be in business, and she's happy to have 3 sons. So please, a round of applause for Natalia. Natalia, we have Erez Eshel. He's the founder of the Leadership Academy in Israel, a former military. He had been in Israel academies, and he thinks that Harry Potter is one of the best books on how to be a leader in a modern world. So please, a round of applause for him. Ilja Laurs, the venture investor. But I want to say venture capitalist all the time because he has found the Nextury Ventures Foundation. He's the head of one of the biggest international shop in the world. And I will tell you honestly, he was the most entrepreneur in the development of our panel. I will tell you later why. Yaroslav Zablotskyy, the owner of the clinics, of the dental clinic Zablotsky Clinic, but he always has to call him, he's a practitioner. Alexander Gromyko, the president of Ukrainian Association of Manufacturers, the founder of Saturn company. Sometimes I even think that Saturn is the only company that sells techniques in Ukraine. Now it's a better situation, but you created the association and it's higher in values and it's more important than just the business. Thank you for that. Round of applause for you. Alex Slutsky. He started his career in the United States. He's been working for 11 years already. Now he's the co-founder and CEO of a company that is one of the leaders of the IT business. 350 people work in this company, and I'm really like that his business creating their own principles and American systematic laws. Also, Andrei Fedorov, a renowned and acknowledged marketologist and financial. He's the owner of independent creative company Fedorov, together with his wife, Yaroslav Zablotskyy, who has her unique PR company that are working with social projects, have 4 kids, started his own work in the international network PR companies and advertisement companies. He does a lot of things that are telling us about the new culture of entrepreneurship. So, round of applause for everyone, and we're about to start. Why did I say that our heroes and speakers, they also have shown their entrepreneurial characteristics when they will be participating in the pre-production of this panel? I've asked them for a very interesting interactive task 2 weeks ago. Give us the explanation of what has been the biggest motivation for them to start their own company. Why they won in the end, why they found their company. And the thing that you have to answer this question in a fast way, you have to react it, you have to fill the market, and you have to do it in 1 sentence with 7 words. So let's take a look at how did they accomplish with this task. So Natalia, like I'm always to be the first. Okay, just in 7 words. Okay, the first word's the freedom. The second word is going to be the plane, the scale, people, and the 5th maybe someone has like growth. The 6th word is harmony, and 7 sons. So this is my 7 words that motivated me for us.
Women. The secret is women is the bright of the sun. Men are only the reflection of the moon. We men reflect the power of women. It starts with your mother, continues with your wife. That's all.
It's not 7 words, but we added. Thank you, Erez. Ilja, ваши 7 слов.
So, Ilja, you were the first person who actually reacted to this question, and for the very long time you've actually asked us, what do you have to do? So you have given us this understanding. You've got an insight into that. You know, it's really hard for me to get all of the life motivation to get into 7 words, but let us make it something very abstract. So it's much better to do something than doing nothing. Let's be like this. Okay, thank you, Yaroslav Zablotskyy. What was your motivation to start your own enterprise? So my motivation was very easy: to make the best stomatological dental clinic in the world. This is your ambition. Thank you. Okay, Alexander. Thank you. Well, my motivation was that first of all was the freedom of decision making. So your business own is something that you can make. So freedom of decision making and self-realization. Okay, and I would like to pass the 7 words, if it's possible, for Alex Lutsky. I'll try to make it in 1 sentence even, but it's going to have like 7 words in 1 sentence. They're the only person who's going to make it a sentence. So one of the motivation is not to wait, but to do, not to observe, but to change. 7 words, 1 sentence. So we have, okay, Andrei, up to you. Well, I'm going to be very sincere. When I was 12 years ago, when I started, like, my mother was crying and I didn't accept it. So, well, like, this is the story how I started at the beginning of the 90s. We had all of our money lost and everything was falling apart all around. No one needs any kind of people to work. And around 12 years, when I was 12 years old, I've decided I have to be an entrepreneur. So yeah, this is a story told because Andrei has given us a motivation story. A round of applause for our speakers, and just keep in mind that everyone answered in a different way. But then again, that we all played this game that I've offered, this entrepreneurial game. Give us the 7 words on what has motivated you to become an entrepreneur. We do understand that all the people live in Ukraine, not only the people in this hall. We do understand how hard it is to be an entrepreneur in Ukraine. And I think that this number of regulation, prohibition, norms and laws that are changing and not being followed, I don't think that any other country of the world has as much as Ukraine has in this matter. But we don't like to discuss it today. We would like to discuss what gives us the power, what gives us the lunch, what gives us the leap to, what gives us the ideas to be working in Ukrainian entrepreneurship, would give us the motivation to win. I would like to ask everyone and the audience also to have an open discussion and to find out the conclusion what we should do in this modern, terrible, trembling times, in the change of Ukraine, to find this niche when you can play for a long time and when you can win in the end. And what is your advice for someone who would like to start your enterprise? Yes, and we might have some advice for the government also in the authority. But let us start with the stories, with your stories and with your emotions. And before I will pass the words to Natalia, who's the only speaker in the panel, and who's the only woman speaker in the panel, I would like to recollect the phrase I really love, as far as I love in communication for quite a long time. And my favorite phrase is like, the people are always forgetting what you have told them, but the people always remember what feelings and emotions have you given them and have you aroused in them. So please give this emotion and feelings to the people. That's what I ask of you. Natalia, Yeremeyeva, welcome. The company Stekloplast working in engineering and producing the Windows packages. So they've started. The history of your company is 20 years already. You've launched it with your husband, and it's a big company nowadays. The segment of your works and the segment of your company has more than 300 constructing objects. And we're speaking about Lavina Mall in KIEF. Motor in Dnipro, and there's a long list of the construction objects that you provided your services to. So that is in the Association of Family Business Symbian. She's in CEO Club Ukrainian Building Community. She's an Aspen Ukraine. She's the speaker of KIEF school, and there's a whole list of the work. And she had 3 sons that need of a mother. So how did you grow this big business, and why didn't you give up at some point? It's going to be hard for me to be standing. To be sitting. I just want to be standing. But it's a good thing to sit. But the people who do, it's hard to sit for a long time. I'm sorry, I'm a doer, so I need to be kept in movement because it's much easier for me to explain what is entrepreneurship. So maybe you can sit on my place still. Okay, I'm just going to be fast. So defense. By the way. So thank you very much. But this Parkovy Center is also something that we did, and I think it's one of the biggest and the coolest place where we can have this kind of events. So I've mentioned these 7 words that you've asked us to do, and I've said freedom as the first word, and I would agree to all of the people present here, and I think this is one of the main things. The freedom is the word that drives us. So this is something I want to show you. This is the 1997 and this is 217, so we've started quite a long time ago and we started all equal. But this is the life that we have today, and this is the life that is going to be continuing, in my opinion. What Larissa has mentioned, and I think that this is very important, the objects that we create. And we mentioned it at the previous panel, like just ask what special you have, what your company do, what is the peculiarity of it, what is the advantage of it. So my company can do these spheres that are competent from all over the world, and this is the competition advantage for us, competitive advantage for us. You have to always find for this competitive advantage. When our German partners were looking for a partner in construction, they found us because we are the best. These are the yellow countries. These are the countries where we already working, and the whites are the ones that we would like to enter, and our company would like to enter. Why do we want to go to these countries? Like every country, they have to understand that Ukraine is a big country. Ukraine is a big country that can manufacture and can produce and make good and beautiful objects, and this is one of the main slide for me, this one, because like why freedom, why development, why communication, these are the main values, the main entrepreneur values. You cannot create the business that's going to be serious and global if you want to understand what are your main values. I have to do, my main value is freedom. I need to do something what I want, and I don't have this glass ceiling that I have to break. Everyone are afraid to move away from Ukrainian territory. They don't want to get to the broader markets, like all the doors closed and so on. But dearest friends, if you have the freedom, if you know how to communicate with friends, and you would like to have the constant development, you will always succeed. And I would like to say it again, there's no glass ceiling above you if you really want. And this is my will. This is the slide that's from KIEF Mahila Business School. When I was graduating from KIEF Mahila Business School, when I was making my thesis statement, this is the formula for my success. You always need to have the idea. After the idea, you need to have the solution. After the solution, there has to be action that follows. A positive or negative action doesn't matter. If you won't act, then it's not going to be happening. You know how they say the pregnant ideas that never give birth. So you have to have the action. This action will bring out the new energy. This is the feeling of the flow when you are satisfied with something you're doing. So you're given the burst to this energy, and this energy burns additional new ideas. And this is the closed circle that keeps on continuing working. This is the thing on answering the question of where should we go. I cannot give you advice, and I think that you understand your businesses in a better way, but this is something that's working in the company. Our company has now 700 people, and I think, in my ideas, that the main thing as Natalia Yeremeyeva function, my function is, first of all, making money is good. But if we're sitting and just thinking, how can we make money, we tend to understand who I am. You have to find your own values, generate your own values. What are the strong sides from me as an owner? And then to understand why am I here and what is my mission. If you want to get the clear understanding of the things, you thinking about money is going to be just a waste of time. So I would like to ask you to define clearly for yourself who you are, what your main values are, and why are you here. And I think that Ukrainian people, we can show it to the whole world. When I'm coming to our objects, constructional objects, we have a tender in Kuwait now on the airport building. And the three companies that participated in this tender, a Chinese, a French company, and our company. And we don't have still the results of the tender, but I'm very happy and very grateful that Kuwait now knows what Ukraine is. They didn't know this country like this existed. When we've sent them our offer and ours, and we are giving out the values, our ideas, our architectural schedules and schemes, I knew that we've already have completed our mission 100% because they've learned about Ukraine. They have understood that in Ukraine we have good programmers, we have good mathematicians, good constructors, good architects, and if we're not going to win this tender, there's going to be 100 more tenders all over the world. But my mission, in this case, I want the world to know Ukraine. I want the world to learn about Ukraine, not through this box football or something else. Ukraine are cool professionals. You have to understand, why are you here? Why are you in the business? Why are you in the market? Why you created your own business? You will succeed if you know that. Thank you. Thank you, Natalia. Yeremeyeva, you said one very interesting thing. You mentioned the values. And I hope we're going to be talking about the values further also, but let us give more elaboration on this, because the freedom, it can't be an absolute freedom. There is no absolute freedom. And in the world, you have to learn this. And my question to our next speaker, to our guest, the professor of couple of Israeli University, the founder of the Leadership Academy in Israel, I would like to address Erez Eshel.
For the leadership in your country, in business society, in political society. And what is your learn in your academy for the leadership, modern leadership? Welcome on the floor.
We are asking how to become a millionaire. I'm not a millionaire. But the academies for leadership that we founded 21 years ago, then it was the first academy. Today we have more than 60 institutes, more than 1,000 employees, minimum salary of $2,000 a month. Calculation, the budget is more than $50 million a year. It's how to become a happy millionaire. Because when we speak about a millionaire, we speak about success, power, and we want to refer that a millionaire is someone that is on the right way in his life to fulfill his one-time opportunity. So how do you become a happy millionaire? And I have endless friends that are millionaires. I can assume that every month one of my students, alumni, becomes a millionaire, and the opportunities are endless. 5 main steps to become a millionaire, to recruit the best team. It's everything about team, but not only a team, with mutual relationship, with the magic word of trust between you. The team that will be able to pass a whole process of failures, of mistakes, of challenges, of examining their direction again and again. The moment you have a team, you can achieve everything. 2 of my friends are Jared Morgenstein. He is the first designer of Facebook, the one that started the like. And Ben Blumenfeld, the top designer of Facebook. They described to me, how did they start Facebook? They said, we recruited ourselves as a team. We didn't know we are going to fund Facebook, but we knew we are going to do something that will change this world. And no one will be able to stop us. You know, when I connected Jared to Israel, he said, we thought that here in the Silicon Valley, we have the biggest and the most successful team in the world. I came to Israel and I met a state of a team. A state that has trust among people. Second thing, the moment you know what to do, or what do you want to do, to have the strategy. step by step. There's no real shortcuts in life in order to be happy. It's a process, a long-term process. Like the most important thing in life, your family. My wife is standing behind. We have 7 kids. 1 is adopted. When you are happy with your kids, when I heard you have 3 kids, that's much more powerful about anything about your business. Because to have a big family, because if we speak about the team, the first team is between you and your wife, in your family. There you are trained. Third thing is to be able to train and to find the place to build the team and to fulfill your strategy before you go to the business that will make you a millionaire. The ground where you examine yourself. Number 4, from who you can learn. Many times we are ongoing competition. I want to be better than other people, much more successful. We are even happy with failures of some of our colleagues. No, you learn from the great people. You learn from success, and you want to be as good as them. This world gives us endless opportunities. This world, still, 70% of the world is behind us. They need this success. So what can you learn from success and long-term success? Last thing, you check and you examine which threats can cause you challenges in life. We are in the most exciting area in history. 3 major challenges. The challenge of identity. You can see it in Western Europe, the loss of identity. You can see that youngsters in Europe have no families. Between the age 25 to 40, you can see more couples with dogs than with kids going around. Identity, who am I? What's my purpose? You spoke about it. Purpose and values on this chain of generations. I'm not going to fulfill everything in my life. I'm transferring it from one to another. Second challenge. Each challenge, it's the biggest opportunity. Digitizing world, IT world, it's a whole revolution. 1.5 billion jobs are disappearing in retail. Only in retail, 3 years ago, we had more than 350 million people working in retail. Today, it's less than 300 million. 2022, we will have less than 40 million. Who's challenging it? When we see Zoya and Vasily Khmelnytsky, they are challenging it. A school, the unit. They are building people for 5-7 years from today to have a big dream. You can't, all of the things, a team, strategy, getting prepared without a very, very big dream. And you spoke about freedom, but freedom for all people. The ability not only of the ones that were blessed by right families, but the right education to fulfill their life. Because the third challenge is the expectancy. Any new baby that is born in this area, in a good family, will live more than 100 years. Do we know how to run our life till the age of 80, 85? How to build the right life? The world is full with opportunities. If we know how to work together, and one of the things that is the major exam of a leadership, how many friends does he have? Real friends, that they love him, that they will be with him not only when he's successful, when he had done mistakes, that they will accept mistakes. And the relationship is like colleagues. There is the hierarchy. But one day you are there, one day he is there. The win-win idea is understanding that the world of leadership is the world of stars. When you look outside at night, you see endless stars. Each one is perfect. We can look at the sun, but we know that only in our galaxy that there are some stars that are 800 times bigger than the sun. There is enough place for everyone. Ukraine is in its biggest time in history. You are starting building your identity. You understand you can't blame Putin. You can't blame others. You simply have to look at the mirror. On the last 3 years, we are funding here in Ukraine the movement of academies for leadership. Last year, 1 academy. 2 years ago. Now we have 5 academies for leadership. 1 in Kharkiv, 1 in Poltava, 1 in Mykolaiv, 1 in Lviv, 1 here in Pushcheveditsa in Kiev. But we know that in 2022, with the help of great Ukrainians, we are going to have in Ukraine, in each region, at least 1 center academy for leadership. And thousands of young Ukrainians are going to take responsibility for the greatness of Ukraine. The talent of Ukraine, the engineers of Ukraine, the brilliant minds of Ukraine. No one has to speak about it. They're endless. The question is, the great Ukrainians will return home because they'll see that the big thing is happening here. It's in our hands. If we will build the trust, if we will build the mutual relationship, friendship, and great dreams. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and for your rules and for emotionals, and thank you for you present for us and your a few rules for the leadership. But I have a question about what about books of the Rolling Stones about Harry Potter? Why you are thinking this is books about revolution and leadership?
Harry Potter?
Yeah.
First of all, because J.K. Rowling had written it. J.K. Rowling is a kind of a prophet of our generation. Harry Potter is the only book that for 10 years was printed and read in at least 60 Western countries more than the Bible. J.K. Rowling became one of the 10 most wealthy women in the world because she defined something about our area. She saw the youngsters, tens of millions of them, feeling themselves like Harry Potter, an orphan child from a mother and father. They are looking for role models, for great adults that will demand from them, not only protect them, not spoil them, but tell them, you are going to do great things. Second thing, when she described this Hogwarts school with Dumbledore and these unique mentors, these people demanded one thing from the kids: greatness. Be somebody in life, be someone. And J.K. Rowling wanted to open our eyes. Do we behave like muggles? People that are all day in the news, watching television, like what happened in the past affects their mood and their future? No. She said, put aside the media, put aside the news. Don't watch news, make news. Open your eyes, great things are happening around you. Harry Potter is the biggest rebellion of hundreds of millions of youngsters looking at us adults. Take us serious, demand from us, don't compromise with us. Harry Potter is about the potential of our area. Our area in history can be very well confused. Too much media, too much internet, too much Facebook and Instagram. We are stuck and we do not look at each other's eyes. J.K. Rowling has a great demand from us. Go above ground. Don't be afraid. Who dare wins. Ukrainians on the last 3 years are so courageous, but you have to be much more courageous and bigger dreamers. It's the same like Harry Potter books. It's not a book of one time. It's a story of 20 years. Anyone that has the ability to dare, he will win in a matter of 20, 25 years. That's Harry Potter.
Додаємо до бізнес-літератури і дякуємо, Erez.
We'll add this book to the business literature. Thank you, Erez, Eshel. But we still would like to talk about this world that we started to live in. This world started in 2008, because then we had the European Convention approved. But then again, on the development of the European digital world and the USA, we would like to ask Ilja Laurs Ilja Laurs has created and is now the chairman of one of the biggest mobile shops. He's the head of the venture capital fund Nextury Ventures, the one he invests in the startups. He's one of the best venture investors in Europe. He is in top 25 high-tech leaders of Europe in Wall Street Journal. He's the person from the top 40 biggest actors on the telecommunication markets. So I know you have the 10 rules for the business leadership. I think there's more of those, but yes, let us try to talk on 10 of rules. What have you heard maybe from your 10 of rules already, and how to get from nothing to a millionaire? Maybe we'll share some more, and not to give up on this. You know, I'm not going to get very abstract. I don't understand some abstract thoughts. I'm a very practical. I'm a practitioner. I would like to divide two things: the inner and the outer. First of all, the innovations and success, it's something that you cannot go without the environment. All of the companies, they are being grown in some environment. So if we have to define this environment or circle, whether it's the state, the politics, regulations, or whatever, I would say that there has to be the consistency in the rules. Just imagine that if the rules of physics or in the universe, they were like changing, like today the atom is pulling the electron to itself, then it's pushing it outside. So nothing could have realized. So the first thing is the consistency of law and the stability. Because business is going to learn how to cope with these conditions. So it's just like the nature. If you have more or less the same temperature and humidity, then the nature will cope with what we can grow on this temperature. So the same is about the business. Like the complicated structures and the complex structures are not going to be working if the legal conditions are going to be changed all the time. And the second thing, I can't even believe, I would like to change the title of us, like from nothing to a million. I would even like to change from 1 unit to a million, from 1 to million. Like you have to get something, you have to put in something and then to get something. If you try to multiply something with 0, you will always have 0 in the end. So there has to be the starting point for everyone who would like to start their business, who would like to get some freedom because of creating this business and the possibility to change the world. Then first of all, you have to come up with this idea that you need the inner investment, at least the inner investment of your time in order to do that. So this is the full fairy tale that the idea can change the world as a Cinderella's life has been changed through one night. It's like, it doesn't work like that. But if you are ready to sacrifice yourself, like for example, just one minimal requirement that we give for the co-founders of our startups is the understanding and the desire and capability to invest at least 1 year of your life without a salary, with nothing, into your idea. Even before we come to this point, even before we invest, we just want, guys, you have two ways. You have the corporate way, you can go for a salary, like working hours, a very consistent payment, and your idea. And in the first case, you're going to have at least like low or an average salary because you have the stability. But on the other hand, with your ideas, then like 9 to 1, you're going to be on the markets and you're going to get the best results and better money. And now the environment can take the financial risks. You have the angel investors, the seeding funds, the venture capital funds, the state grants. So there's lots of other possibilities how you can get the money. But the very first thing is the starting point that you have to start. You have to invest yourself. You have to invest your own time. And without it, there's nothing going to happen if you're going to not want to invest the time. When the person comes up, we have a great idea. And we're like, okay, but how are you going to work this idea? How are you going to implement it in life? And the person says, like, I can't. Like, I have no time. I just want to have the money for the idea. And I have the idea, so you can do that. So you have to get to this very pragmatical level before you get the team, before you get the investors, before... That's like the 0 point, the starting point. You have to understand of what unit you can invest in that, like whether... And the most liquid thing you can invest, as such, you can invest as your own time. Like, for example, like I didn't want, like you said... I did just want to use you, but okay, I'm not just going to get all of the other people. But for example, the person that starts, the person can do something, and you can invest something into what you do. This is the starting point that you do with. Under the European standards, 1 million is a very average number, let us say it like this. I think that the average time from the startup goes from 0 to up €1 million. This is a year. So it's not rocket sciences actually. So it's not that much away. So the company that's whatever you create, if the company has a prototype, the team of 2 or 3 people, and if they have work in the service online, offline, a product prototype, the business model that they have developed that has been proven living model. So it will be evaluated as 1 million, and in American context it will be like 5 million words. It doesn't need to have the superstructure, you don't have to need a very broad team and so on. It's a very standard average figure that you can reach. So like 2-3 students investing their time and their work into their idea, then possibly they will reach this 1 million worth in a year. Thank you very much. At a lot of workshop in communication, I have heard that the IT market is going to stop. There's going to be the period of stabilization, and it's not going to be the recession for the IT market. But the general nature of growth, that's still going to balance back. So the IT market is going to stop. So what is the IT market going to do then, and your venture capital company going to do then? At the state we have right now, you cannot separate the IT market from any of other activities. You cannot say there is like an IT market as separate one. It's just to say, literacy or writing. This is like all of the different activities, like the construction, the dentists, that even the medicine. It's not inseparable from the IT. So the IT is just the framework and structure and the architecture of something that provides the possibilities for the others to create. To say that the IT is going to stop is like to say that civilization is going to stop. Then again, the new technology always develops in its own way. So when they said the so-called the internet bubbles and the bubble of .com that's burst in 2000, like, okay, there's no more internet bubble, but just to tell you that this economy is now 20 times more bigger than this so-called bubbles, but that have been burst in 2000. So it didn't just burst, it didn't just blow up, it grew 20 times more. So new technologies, they are always coming, they always appear. Always when the new technology appears, there's always the underestimation of the technology. Then when you get the early return and you have the surplus returns in your investments, and then the technology becomes overestimated. So yeah, we now understand that this blow-ups and these bubble technologies and bubble bursts are going to be all over the world in the development of the technology. We can first of all try to get a way out of it. First of all, you have to have the reserve, you have to save some money, and we're waiting for at least 7 times more developed economics than we now have in the IT. I had this example yesterday about the artificial intelligence. I am absolutely enchanted by the way IE is enhancing the possibilities of the person. I was surprised that in China the IE has written an article on sport article for less than a second, for 0.2 seconds. Well, imagine how it's going to enhance the possibilities of people. So that is why we're saying that there is a huge reserve for the further development of the IT technology. So there is no single activities in the world now that is not connected to the informational technology. Informational technology is even the last century, because information is actually passive in its essence. We're speaking about the active part of it, the creative part of it. When robots creating the music that the people think that's much better than the people are. We had this on the party, that at the experiment, the people think that the music is created by the robots is much better than the one that's created by Bach. That's arguable, actually. The main principle when I say the Bible for the artificial intelligence, I will believe. But now it's really hard to believe that the artificial intellect and the robots are going to change people, replace people everywhere. It's arguable, yes, but we can enhance the productivity of labor in thousands times and 10,000 times. So you have to understand it also. The Institute of Hlushkov in 70s, they worked with robots and artificial intelligence, so it's quite a long time. But I'm going to be working as the pathologoanatom of the values. Maybe you can give us the values that you mentioned the first for the people from the unit to a million. So why stability? You've mentioned stability as the first point. For me, that sounded as a starting point, as like there's no stability as such. There's no stability in the world. There's no stability in Ukraine. The entrepreneur in Ukraine never feel what is stability. Yes, it's a bad thing. It's a bad thing that we don't have the stability, because it's hard to build something on an unstable structure. It's hard to build a complex system on an unstable structure. It's, for example, just imagine a territory that has earthquakes of a different scale, from 0 to 10 in Richter scale. What can you build on it? Okay, you can build a small hut on it, but you can't build a skyscraper on it, because every half a year it's going to be destroyed completely. So for the business, you have to understand that the small entrepreneurship, this is a reactive force. It's not building up it's not building the legislation frame. They're just settled to the condition that already exists. Only the big entrepreneurs can build up the legislation for themselves. So the small business and medium business is like 10 stories building, or like 12 stories building. And then they're going to build it up in the scale whether we have the conditions good. So if there's going to be the earthquakes, you're not going to build a skyscraper. So all of the business need the conditions to get developed. There is something that it works like this in the world. So thank you, Ilja, for this needed remark, because we do understand that the entrepreneurship will not grow if it's not going to have the stability, and not going to be united if there's not going to be stability in that. Thank you, Ilja. Yaroslav Zablotskyy was ready to answer Ilja on that. I just would like to add something on you. Your clinic, there's 4 clinics right now. Yes, there's more clinics even still, you're one of the first in the medical and dental market. You've created a franchise. I'm right. Yes, I'm right. Okay. The clinic of Zablotskyy is one of the biggest and more expensive brands. Well, at least the business press of Ukraine mentions it in the sphere of the medical and dental services. You already had the projects in Odessa, Sofia, KIEF, and Lviv. And the new care that you say, like adapting the Ukrainian emotion, so the contact of you have this context for the marketing and for the service provision in your clinic. And right now, I really like your position, because you've said you're taking care of education. You have your own academy. When did you do that, and why? Like a classical question for our panel: what are the values that are important for you, for the entrepreneur in Ukrainian markets, to keep on living, and when in the end? Thank you very much. I'm going to give you a mic. Another person who likes walking. I just want to show you a couple of the slides, but they're not going to be to tease in the slides. So, because every one of speaker is going to address the dentist, it can end in a bad way. Anyway, at least everyone can feel the toothache at some point. I would like to show you some slides, and not to boast of something what I've done in my life, or I just want to find, maybe someone will find it inspirational, maybe someone will feel that I'm going to inspire you for your own solutions. I'm 58 years old. This is the clinics that I've opened in Lviv 20 years ago. There was 100 square meters, a small corner on the right. Right now there's 1,000 square meters, and everything you see in this picture is the clinic. And I understand that we've got it from step by step. 25 years ago, I was 35. I was working in the Lviv Medical University, and I wanted to create an important, modern, contemporary medical clinic then. A year after, as a young person full of energy, young medical professor in academy, because I was very young at this point, and people usually go to academy when they go to 50. I wanted to create the contemporary dental clinic. I have understood that it's impossible being in the state-owned clinic, and I saw that I want to open the private clinic. At that point, I didn't understand that I'm not going to just make a private medical establishment. I'm going to turn into the business. When I went and just choosing the first premise and first location, my wife told me, like, how are we going to buy this premise? We don't have the money. What I've told her by that time, like, I don't need the money, I just need the place. At that point, I have seen an announcement that there is the loans for the entrepreneurs, like with 3% of interest, and I going to the banks and showing them this announcement in the bank. Well, you know what banks have told me? That's just the swearing words. I did, and I still tried to address many other organizations. And so I went into the premium. Right now, I see the reasons why I've got to this moment. In order to buy the cheap equipment to the clinic, what I needed, who knows what I needed? I needed the money, and I didn't have the money. And because I didn't have the money, I couldn't buy the cheap equipment. And so, knocking on every door, I found the door of the company, the Siemens company, that as it goes, gives the loans for their own equipment. So I had the product credit from Siemens. I've got for premium, even having no money. But I go to this premium class. I couldn't buy the cheap equipment for myself. So I've got the credit loan from Siemens. I've opened the clinic in 1998 in Lviv, and I knew that I succeed to do that because I've created this. I've made it on the catalog. Thank God I didn't have IT. I didn't have the internet by that time, and I couldn't take a look on how this clinics looked in the West. And when a couple of years ago I went to America, and I went to looking through the clinics in America when you live, I have been to around 30 medical establishments. They were called the dental offices. I've called my wife Ilja and said, Zanya, I have two news for you, one good and one bad. What you would like to start? I said, okay, start with a good one. I said, I'm coming back. The first thing. I'm not staying in America. So what's the bad is? I said, could you remember, you've told me, you've quoted Khazanov, a famous stand-upper for us. That the man has to have two big problems, the modesty and the beauty. And I said, I'm coming back only with one, with beauty. I'm still handsome, but I'm not modest. I've left all of my modesty in America. In America, I haven't found the only clinics that looked like the one I have created in Lviv. 2 years ago, I haven't found any clinic like this in London also. But that's it. Because the clinics have been established 40 years ago, and they're still done. They have been made as the way to what they were thinking in 40 years. They're still living in this place, only just changing the equipment. They're not changing their approach. So, it's not a bad thing to have a loan from 0 to $1 million. I didn't have any other way. And the wife of my friend, she said, she had these jokes about it. And she said, can we think of Zablotsky as a millionaire when he owes everyone $1 million? Now I do understand that, yes, you can call me a million, even if I owe $1 million to some people. 10 years ago, I've given all of my loans, I've returned all of my loans, and I've had another loan. There's my friend here, Alexei Denisenko, present, and he also mentioned I have a dream. And I wanted to be a pilot when I had a dream. And 11 years ago, I thought that one of my patients, he said, dear doctor, this is the head of the Aero Club, a pilot, and we're going to go. And I felt okay, cool. Now my dream of my childhood is going to be implemented. I'm going to jump from the parachute, and I'm making the step around the corner, and my wife says, whoa, wait a second, you have loans? Yes, you have loans. When you're going to give all of the loans back, you're going to have a flight on a plane, and you're going to have a jump with a parachute. And still, I cannot fulfill my dream, and now I have another loan, a loan for $1 million, and the only difference with this 25 years that now I know why I take this $1 million for. Now I'm still a doctor who understands a bit in a business, but not the businessman who understands a lot in business. I did understand that for a clinic for 300 meters, I need $1 million. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter how good is your wife or partner. You can have a lot of money, but you can create something even for 300 meters, something like something like $9 million for the business is nothing. But for a dentist, $1 million, it's a dream that if you wake up, that you cannot believe that. Just try to imagine how many teeth you have to take away to earn $1 million. But maybe because of this lack of knowledge, I had another loan of 1 million, and then my franchise has been bought. The franchise in Odessa wasn't successful, it failed. My friend from Moscow, who is from origins from Odessa, he had created a good clinic. He had a loan, 1 million loan also, but it seems that it's hard to be a dentist and a businessman, and he failed. And this side was the way of getting the premise, they getting the location. But some of the people who are doing this, they just doing it in order just to have some property. They don't know what to do with this. But there is this is the clinic. This is the center of Sofia in Bulgaria. For the 3 years, I've been paying the royalties for the Ukrainian trademark. Ukrainian dentist medicine is in Europe. What have I learned for the last 20 years? The business model of the clinic that is situated on Novohospitalna Street in KIEF, and this is now Kopernik Street in Lviv. For all of the dentists in the world, what is good for me? Yes, it's good for me that you have the toothache. And the more toothache you have, the better for me. Today is the day of a smile. You can congratulate me because I have the direct connection to all of your smiles. Thank you. We're making money on your smiles. And the worse your teeth are, the better money we have, the more money we have. But what I have learned is this, like for 58 years old, I really care about it. I want the Ukrainians to be healthy. I know that 100% of Ukrainians have holes in their teeth. Everyone. In Sweden, the country that also has the blue and yellow flag, they don't have the holes in their teeth. They go to the anatomic museums to show the dentists how caries looks like. The country is not that far from Ukraine. 85% of Ukrainians have periodontitis. The process, the illness of your gums. And this is something that I really care about. What we have done now, we have changed the business model. We have decreased the investment to 300,000. We're given the premium service that is accessible by everyone. We've created the centers of taking care of teeth and gums. We have created the new format. It looks like this in Lviv, like everything is transparent. And this is how it looks in Huliver on the 6th floor when we are today opening our center for the gum and teeth care. There's only one service. I'm always at it. As a real woman, you're as always telling lies. You're giving us 10 minutes, then 7 minutes, and then you go 4. Okay, a very good feeling of time. I still have a minute left. Please, just a minute left. So the fully transparent office, and we want this place to be fashionable. In this transparent glass windows, if we see someone, so everyone will actually envy you because he is healthy. This is the trend for Ukrainian health. And I do know that my dream to make Ukrainian a healthy nation will be fulfilled, will come true. Because one service and one price and like just a piece of advertisement, please brush your teeth twice a day. It doesn't matter before the meal or after. Just twice a day, just do it. Just visit the dentist, the hygienic dentist twice a year. This is the culture that has been highly developed in Europe, but it hasn't been developed in our country. And it would have been good that if we did that. So just brush your teeth and you're going to be healthy and you won't need a dentist. Thank you for your attention. I mentioned that we have the Ukrainian colored, but I'm going to introduce you as a great speaker, but not as a practitioner dentist. Thank you, Yaroslav. We have Alexander Gromyko, who said at the economical truth, that said like, how did I become Gromyko? You know, after this kind of bright speech, I don't think that you will think that my speech is very dumb. So, but okay, your rules. After this speech, I think that I need to visit the Zablotsky Clinic because I haven't been visiting dentists for a long time ago, and as far as everyone has holes in their teeth, I have to check mine. Thank you for the invitation. I'm just going to give you a brief introduction in what I do and who I am. You know, the previous speaker, when he said that in the 90s, it was really hard in the families, and his mother were crying, and it was really hard to find money to keep up with your family. This is the situation I had. My family is very simple, actually. My mother is a teacher of physics in school, and in 90s we didn't have money, and as a student I've decided that I'm going to be an entrepreneur also, and I've sold some kind of sneakers and chocolates, and I've been selling them on the markets, on like real markets, and I was having my own money and tried not to ask the money from my parents from a very early age. And our company has the 21st anniversary for this year, and I was a very young student. We started to work with the techniques and selling the techniques to the markets, and in 1996 we've opened the official company. I've become a shareholder, and I'm working in the techniques for quite a long time now. I'm glad to see a person, Andrei. He has been a consultant in 1996. Andrei, maybe you can stand up, just so we mentioned you. This is the person who in 1996 that gave us all this, Andrei Slivinsky. And this is the person who, as an auditor, told me how to open my own company, because I was just working as an entrepreneur, just buying and selling. But now I wanted to create a company with employees. And he had told me how to build up a company, how to get the accounting kept, and there was a lot of skeptical value on what I'm doing. But we're good friends all over the years. And I have just saw that like 21 years have passed. So you started from 20 when you sold chocolates, and at some point your company Saturn has been almost a monopolist on the Ukrainian markets of the techniques. And what do we have now? No, we didn't have a monopolist in any time, especially in this competent market as the techniques is. And we've imported different techniques from Europe for not very known trademarks, and so. In 1998, we decided that we would like to create the same brand. We went to China, and we will just make our own brand, Saturn brand, for the kettles, for the hoovers, for the every small techniques that you see in the markets. And starting from 1998, we've decided that we want to create our own production, our own manufacturing. So we've decided to get ourselves distant from the European distributors. We've had almost 60 companies, 60 manufacturers who were suppliers for Saturn. And if you get to different trademarks, the File-Revent, the Philips, Electrolux, all of these models, they're just from the same factories from China. They're just quite slightly different in design, but they're all manufactured in China. So, they're from the same Chinese manufacturers, actually. And when we've started our own plants, we've understood that we've created the first for the washing machine in Ukraine, and it works quite consistently. We know there's the crisis, but our plant is still is being developed. And after the revolution of dignity in 2014, they've headed the Association of the Manufacturers, and the Saturn is now made in Ukraine. A lot of positions we now have been made in Ukraine. We import something from China and Turkey now, but we have tried out all of the Chinese market now, and while we're working only with the best suppliers and best manufacturers, those who produce something that offer low quality, they have died off. Because in this component environment you cannot offer the bad quality. But we still can see some of the parts of the low quality in our market. But if you're going to choose Saturn, a small advertisement, if I may. So if you're going to choose Saturn, you will know that you will choose the techniques of a good quality. So we're providing different kettles and different small techniques in Cherkasy, and we built a plant 2 months ago. We bought a big fabric there, it was in 30,000 meters, like 50,000 square meters. We've just coped with a part of it now. We started the first there. We're now working with the ovens there. We're manufacturing ovens there. We've started the first convectors there. It has the proud label made in Ukraine, and this is. You understand that this is a full circle. This is the full circle of a fabric, a full circle from the Chinese fabric. We've just opened this fabric in Ukraine, and we're going to open the big refrigerator plant. Is going to be investment of $20 million in the same place in Cherkasy. That's all up-to-date contemporary technologies plant, and there's going to be all like heated floors that you cannot see in some of the apartments in Ukraine, but we can see it on our plants. So we're working with the solar energy, so it's very energy efficient and energy saving, and we're going to produce them refrigerators with A3 plus technology, and all of our equipment is very modern and contemporary in order to get A3 plus technology, and some of this that not being sold in European. So we've built up a very modern factory. I'm going to launch it in February next year. So what is my advice to the people who are just entrepreneurs and who would like to start a business? Starting from 0 to a million, like the previous speaker mentioned in the IT. I'm very interested in the IT, but then again, I'm very distant from IT, because you can grow from definitely from 1 to million, and you cannot make it in the production or manufacturing. So the person who is importing any products from China, and we have a lot of products from China. Everywhere you're surrounded with the products from China, the microphones, the armchairs, everything is Chinese, and you have to understand, if you will get to a big supermarket, like for example the epicenter, the construction supermarket, you will see that everything that is being sold there, starting from the construction products and up to the techniques, we can produce it and manufacture it in Ukraine. I understand it from my own experience. Our association of manufacturers, you can take a look at our sites, that we're helping these entrepreneurs to look for the investments who would like to shift from the import to manufacturing of the goods they import. And in order to succeed in manufacturing the goods, you have to open the new market. You can see our products all over the Eastern Europe. We're now starting to sell in Africa. We're starting to sell in France. There are lots of countries that are buying Saturn, and we have to open the new markets now. The biggest advantage of Ukraine, first of all, this is location of Ukraine. We're losing the free European trade zone with the European Union. It's possible we're actually already in the European Union if we speak about importing and exporting the goods. Then there is this hard to get to the European supermarkets and get certified. It's a myth. If you're going to follow all of the needed standards and you're going to be up-to-date and contemporary, then you will get into the European supermarkets. You're just saying that, we will just change something that is made in China by made in Europe. We position our products in Europe as made in Europe because Ukraine is Europe also. And so there is a big loyalty for the brands that are made in Europe and made in Ukraine. What you have to understand, that when you're importing something, you understand that you're working with a trade. It's not that complicated for a person to start a manufacturing. I have never thought when I was just trading that I'm going to start manufacturing the goods and techniques. When you're trading, you can just get to see how the plant works, and the same we're doing the same. We're just doing like people in China do that all the time. Like just they take a look at how the car is produced and making the same car in China. So you can see that, yes, we did the same. We're copying the production. We didn't invent anything super new. I've just went to a Chinese plant. I've talked to his boss, and my employees, they're just making photos of all of the equipment and how everything works. So, they have made the photos of all of the equipment. We want this kind of equipment for this kind of factory. And of course, we understand that we can recreate it. We just want to make the same plant, but with a good equipment, and in Ukraine in order to produce that, the chairs, the monitors, like whatever. Can you give us an advice? What kind of equipment they need? And of course, the Chinese people are very open. There are leaders in creating the equipment for the manufacturing, and they will answer you that, of course, we're going to provide you the needed equipment. So we understand that there's one kind of engineering firm that has projected the plants. Then there you get to the engineering office, and then you clone the same factory here. Unfortunately, Ukrainian salaries are 3 times less than in China. Like $600 is the minimum wage for the person on the factory of KIEF in China, but in Cherkasy we unfortunately can offer right now only $200 of a payment for every month for a worker. But I hope that the salary is going to grow the same as it grows in China. We do understand that in Ukraine we had $150 for a simple worker, and now starting from 50 going to 200. But it's not like, as the people say, that we don't have these Chinese workers like that simply to the Ukrainian factories, because there is a high salary. The competitiveness is growing. The competitiveness between the manufacturers is growing. And in order to keep up with this competitiveness, you have to open the manufacturers. We have to get out of shadow. We have to follow the rules of game. We have to stop the contrafacting. We have to stop the legal export. I don't think that even in Africa, there's no countries even in Africa that you can sell something, just be in the private entrepreneur, to have no legal documents that provide you with this selling. And of course I cannot follow your advice. There's a lot of advice, but again, one of the advice is like to be the made in Ukraine. Yes, be made in Ukraine. Saturn is made in Ukraine, and I think that and so you're advising everyone to open the production in Ukraine. Yes. I would like to address to Alex Lutski, not only to the person who has lived and worked in IT in the United States of America and came back to Ukraine, created an IT company, and for a few years has become the leader of the digital sphere in Ukraine. At least it has been marked by our rating agencies and magazines. I would like to address you more as an expert on strategic planning and strategic project management and so on, because your experience is systematic for both United States and Ukraine, and I think that you're seeing a broader scale. So I would like to ask you, what is needed to be done, speaking on the long-term strategies for the people who are starting it to work right now? Thank you very much, because we had been at the VIP reception yesterday, and Vasyl Khmelnytsky has mentioned that's one of the main aims for the KIEF Economical Forum, to help the Ukrainian business to get the new knowledge and to get new contacts, to get new investors, and to get more opportunities. I think that what we are lacking today, this is something that we're lacking today, and my colleagues have mentioned it, we are now entering the global economics. We're now entering the economics that has a hard competition in it. And if we speak about the last 30 years, when most of the services and products and goods and businesses have been competing between one in the inner economics or in the post-Soviet space, where there was no real competition because most of the things have been decided by the administrative resources. Well, now you have to work. So you have to think globally to work and to earn money, even in the Ukrainian market now. But in order to think globally, there has to be some of the things you have to take into consideration also. First of the thing, to think globally, you need to change this mindset of Ukrainian entrepreneurs. And some of the companies, they have to change the management. They have to find the management who's going to think globally. You have to avoid the resources, and you have to get into technologies that are going to optimize the worth of the cost of your product. So you have to build the high quality product and still be competitive with the politics, because you can build something very expensive, but it's very hard to build something expensive. So you have to do it fast. You have to do it fast because the global market is not very fast. And if you are going to be, again, waiting for a year and you're going to be discuss what can be done, then tomorrow your business won't exist. And I want to say, I think, two more important things and two more important values in building the global business. There's two things that are important. First of all, the brand and brand reputation. Because when we're now working with our suppliers of the services and goods, then we are still facing the situation when, even though everything is transparent and open now, everything's quite clear, when we still see the situation when people trying to get the money today, not thinking about tomorrow. And in global economics, with the competitive economics, you can't think about today. You think about globally what's going to be in 1 year or 2 years in future. That's one thing. The second thing is, even if we speak about our company, then 99% of our companies, they come to us because of the reputation of our brand, the reputation of our workers, and reputations of our company. And this is something that is interesting for our new clients. And something that is the new word that we really love, the so-called customer experience, because we're all speaking about the customers. It's highly competitive environment, and we have to give them the reason to choose you, but not anyone else. Something what we see all the time now, it's just that we're working with the suppliers of the services and the goods in Ukraine. And when we're talking about on the negotiation table with them, they sometimes ask me whether like I am the client buying the product or vice versa. There is a problem in Ukraine that when they are trying to get you to fit into the business process as a customer, who are important for the sellers actually, but not vice versa. You have to think of your customer first. And if we speak about the global market today and take into consideration the competitiveness, that's something I would like to mention again. I mentioned it before. That's not my quote, but we don't have the competition in products and goods. There is the competition in the model of the management of the business. Because if you take a look at the business, we're doing quite the same things. But if we speak of successful companies and unsuccessful companies, and I think that successful companies, these are the companies that are building this mindset the right way and building the business processes and management of the business processes in the right way. They are the topest competitors in the business processes, in global business processes nowadays. Thank you, and I would like to pass the floor to Andrei Fedorov. It's much harder for him because he's going to be the last speakers, and we're going to get into the time. Because Andrei is a marketologist, and I think that he's going to be, again, our finalizing, and he's going to win this emotional sparring because he's the marketologist, he worked in advertisement, he knows this market quite well, he has the unique and personal experience in this field, and I will be happy to hear about it more. Well, first of all, I don't think that we have a competition at all. Not a competition between the speakers on the panel. I would like to say that I'm dealing with the brands for around 20 years. For 20 years ago, I have written the first article about a company for the magazine, and I have a nice and strange feeling now. Because all of my clients, they have been older than I am, in 5 or 10 or 20 years. But now I have clients that are younger than I am. And sometimes they're younger than I am, 10 years younger than I am. And when we're speaking about the entrepreneurship, right now we're working together with the representatives of the old economics, like we have the Brest Meat Combinat, the state-owned Belarus factory, whose the main target audience are the pensioners of Belarus. And there are really good clients. We're dealing with a fourth project with them. It's very interesting. But at the same time, we have the representatives of the new economics as our clients. For example, the company in Germany. The company has Ukrainian hands. We don't know where the money is from what they have. And they're working with the municipal parking lots in Switzerland. We have finalized the first project for Saudi Arabia. And I don't know how they come up with us, but they have come up with us. I haven't met them once, but we've made a project together. And this is the unique moment, a unique situation. And I think there's something that is the huge window of opportunities for someone who's going to be the entrepreneur right now. Because I think that the main competition is now only with time, because this time has been very fast right now. Everyone knows everything. All the information is accessible. There's Coursera, there's Stanford, there's books, there's Facebook. So everything is open. The only thing is about how you use it. And the representatives of the old economics have been a bit slow. I have one client actually, and they have been dealing with us more or less on creating the new pilot shop. They have a lot of shops. There is another client, and one of the founders, he's 30 years old, and like 2 weeks we haven't met, and he said, lovely, we have opened 16 shops already in this 2 weeks. Because the entrepreneurs of this new generation, these are the people that inspire me at all and challenge me at all very much. These are the people who have their mindset differently. Their brains work differently. First of all, they don't think like Ukraine is a dogma or a closed market or whatever. They say that their market is the whole world. Well, USA is the biggest market, and it's quite good for us to be in Ukraine because we don't have we have low expenses, and we don't have a lot of people that need to be employed. But we're not thinking about Ukrainian customers, because Ukrainian customers are poor, and there's not that much of the customers, and they're quite sincere about it. It doesn't mean that you cannot work at the Ukrainian customer market, but they're just interested in other markets. And they have this notion of the omni-channel retail, that they have this omni-channel life. They partly live in online conferences, partly in digital reality, partly in traveling, and it's a very interesting and exciting life, a much more exciting life than the life of the old economics. And what I think is very important now, that's you don't have to be proud of something you have done in the past. I tell you a lot about how good we worked in 90s, in 2000, at the beginning of the 2010s, but it is important of what we do this month. So if we speak about the strategy of today, then the strategy of today is something that you do right now. And if we try to describe the new generation, that I would like to give this like the word live. They're always on air. They are in Facebook. They're not interested in what has been yesterday. They just want to see the live on air. And the strategy has to be like that. It has to be live. It has to be on air. And it's a big art just to balance between these worlds. You have to be a dreamer. You have to have a vision for 10 years, for 20 years. I have 4 kids. And it's quite a good example of that. I have some plans for future. But then again, you have to be understanding what you're going to do up to date till evening. You have to plan. There's a lot of books on the new logic for Scrum, on MVP and so on. Sprint is like 2 weeks. Or even 1 week, or even 1 day. And the thing is, like, what can you do in strategical point of view? What do you up to do for today? Not like a Monday. Like, for example, as a workshop strategy, when you get to the work on Monday, it's, come on, you have 2 days more. Like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and the people can be better than you in this. I think that you have to be my competitor with yourself and competitor to the time. Because we don't have this time pillow that, like, you don't have like you're going to invest in a good way, you're going to be a good business owner, and you're going to go get the money, or you go to Thailand or like bounty country where you can rest. There's no other country like this. You're going to have to work and work hard. And the people who are inspiring me, these are the people who are like also like 20 years older than I am. They are still creating startups. They are still creating new projects. And I hope that in 20, 50 years they're going to be like this, young in their souls. And it's cool to feel myself more like 18 years old and writing new articles and new magazines to the new people. Thank you, Andriy. We have 8 minutes for questions, so please raise your hands and we're going to have some questions. And Natalia, Yeremeyeva want to reflect to Andriy's words, so please just a second. Friends, just for you to understand, the person who has created the brand of Stekloplast, this is Andriy Fedorev. And if you want to dream big, then for example, Stekloplast company, he told me, you have to write it in English. That was in 2012. The brand, the company, we've written it in Latin letters, and it was the beginning to our work with the world. How you get the name, the way you're going to succeed. So thank you, Andrei, with that. Thank you for that advice. So your questions, and our speakers, please introduce yourself and address the question. Tatiana Abramova, I represent the manufacturing business. I have a question to Alexander. Can we go to it too? Yeah, we have a in manufacture. We're export in five countries. I do understand there's nothing bad about export and so on. And still we're working in a very competitive environment. We're working in closes, so we're quite in competitive sphere. I have kind of a painful question to Andrei. We're now on the bridge of scaling our manufacturing, and we understand that this is the question of the training for the professionals. You know, we do understand that in our case, the professionals in creating of the clothes, in order to scale the business, please, how do you scale the business? How did you manage to scale your business? Thank you for your question. Just today we have had this conversation that our specialists in our press equipment, but they have these convectors and heating equipment, and 3 people left. Well, they left to Poland. They left to Poland to get some seasonal payment. You know, the thing is that we're now competitors not with the neighboring plants and factories as in China. I would have been really happy as the level of Ukraine would rise and the neighboring factories would actually invest into new people. But now people are living abroad, and there's something that I really feel sad about. But how do we manage to do that in our education? And how do we do that? We take people, we just train them. We take people who don't know nothing how to do that, and we train them. And we know that the people understand something, how it should be done. We're giving them the optimal salary. We're training them. We're training them with our Chinese experts. We have 10 people from China right now, and they're just training people how to work on the equipment that we have bought in China. So basically, yes, this is a big problem for us. The lack of staff is a big problem for us. We're together with Boris Khmelnytsky, with Vasily Khmelnytsky. We're planning to open one of the engineering universities in Ukraine because we feel the lack of engineers, and because he's very inspired in this training and education. And what something I've felt in my example, I don't have this technical specialists and I don't have the working specialists, and so that's how we managed to do that. We're just training people there at our own factory. So the first week the person is being shown how to work on this equipment and so on. And then they go to do the work, and then the people who've left, they're providing the training for the next people. This is how we do that. We just train our own workers. Yes, this is a question to the Ministry of Education, because there is the need for the working professionals, for them capable working professions in the vocal training. So we need to have this, yes. We need to develop this question of education. Thank you, Alexander. Please, the next question. Viktor Krivanko. Good day. I have a question for everyone, I guess, to all of the speakers at the panel. This subjectivity of the business. When the business is starting, not only like you're from KIEF or you're from member of partner, can you tell us, all of this executive bodies with all of the checks and all of these things that they do, you just want to devastate all of the state and government bodies. The state we don't need the state. We're just being the merely populist, and the business is not working with the government. We've spoken about this, getting our business out of shadow, but when the business is going to build the politics in their own sphere and giving it this as a demand to the political organizations, whether this understanding that the Titanic is just, getting down, you just have to understand that you have to build up your own. You have to be responsible for your own destiny. So the statesmen, the teachers, and the businessmen, they're one of the same professions, but a lot of businesses, they just say, like, let the state not interfere into our business. Just don't interfere. Unfortunately, we have not much time, so okay, I think I'll start. A very simple answer to this question. The Association of Ukrainian Entrepreneurs, we have to do something on our own. It is terribly bad to just be waiting that something is going to be taught by other people. You go to the ministry your own, and you're just not waiting to develop in the exporting strategy for 3 days and $100,000. You get the A4 piece of paper with 5 points on it, something that has to be done about the Ukrainian business. You get this piece of paper and give it to the ministers, and in a month you're going to see the first change, and the first change is going to happen. The first thing to give us 120 days, 180 days, and so on. So the position of Ukrainian business is nothing. No one owes you. You take the initiative in your hands, and you go there and demand something that you needed to be done. Yesterday, to the General Prosecutor Office, there was the representatives of the Business Association. If you checked it in feedback, that we wanted to stop the so-called masky show, the mask show. This is the so-called illegal checks by the General Prosecution of the businesses. And we understand that, yeah, it works. It will work. The business has to stand for themselves.
70 years ago, from zero, from a diaspora, from Holocaust. In 70 years, we are now with a GDP of $40,000 per capita, and it's growing. 2025, 2030, we will be over $60,000 per capita. You can blame always politicians. The politics is a reflection of a nation, sometimes a grotesque reflection. The question is who we are. What do we dream? The nation, the people. When we believe, when we are optimists, when we dream 20 years from now, if everyone in this room will dream Ukraine 2030 with a GDP of over $20,000 per capita, if you will dream Ukraine with more than 50 million people with this GDP, if you will dream Ukraine with expectancy of over 75 years per person in Ukraine, no one can stop Ukraine. The politicians will be better. The politics and the bureaucracy will be better. The rule is to be happy and optimist. Any entrepreneur has to be optimist. Fails one, does it twice, and second time. Greatness in your personality, in your family, in your community, in your nationality, and then the business will get better and better. Thank you.
Ilja, ваши побажання.
Да, конечно, возвращаясь.
Yes, getting back to what I've said before, then start speaking about the environment, the environment for creating the good businesses, and I'm going to get to the practical level, then yes, that is very important. In Ukraine, there's some problems might be up to date, the so-called, the mask shows, like, and we haven't seen it in Lithuania, like one of the colleague had told me about it, that he stores his servers not in his company because there can be the checks and they can just confiscate it. Like, whatever I have been doing, everything just ended. Like, my business is ruined because my servers are taken away because of some kind of check-ins and so on. But the tools that I would like to offer is the maturity of the market. The maturity of the market is defined by the number of the associations and unions. If there exists a problem, that it can't be unique for one business. It doesn't. If we speak about the small businesses and corporations and plants, if the problem is working with 10 people, then you can always get, like, people, let us share a 10 euro each other and we'll hire one person, we'll call ourselves a union, association, whatever, commonwealth. And this quasi-organization, pseudo-organization is going to have the higher status. It can write to Europe, it can talk to the government, they have to listen to this, you can contact the medias and so on. So this is the thing of maturities. The number of associations and unions that you have. It's not that you just have someone particular, but you have to decide it on not on the private individual level. You have to get it into united efforts. Like, one business addressed one minister, but if 10 businesses are going to address one person who's going to address the ministry, he's going to have the real solutions. The problems are the same, but different mechanisms of how to do that. Yaroslav, your answer? 3 short moments. First of all, I don't believe to Ukrainian politics, and I expect nothing from Ukrainian politics. Moreover, I think that in the closest future, what we should expect is we should expect the increasing number of the populace that people are going to vote for. This is the fact. But it doesn't mean the state won't be developing. I think the development of the states is irreversible, and I think there's going to be influenced by the foreign currencies, maybe the international monetary fund. There's going to be some rules that even the populists are going to have to follow. And another thing, I think that everyone here, every one of us is important. I've lived through the bandits. I lived through the so-called black berets, the gunmen who have been surrounding the clinics. I have survived through the illegal taxpayers who made me tax. I do not bribe people for 20 years. I do not pay bribes for 20 years. I'm trying to be European citizen. And for 20 years, I feel myself a European. And I have no difference from my friends who live abroad. One final remark. Last week, I've been flying on Lviv to Warsaw and then to Vienna. I didn't have the direct flight because, like, all the flights we were taking, and I've had 2 passports in my pockets. One with a visa, and another without the visa, the biometrical passport. The new biometrical passport, yes. And I've caught myself in opinion that with a biometrical passport, I've been through the Austrian customs for just a second. He just took at it like the passport made in Ukraine. That's everything they checked. Before that, when I was flying to all of the countries in the visa, all every customer officers, they were like looking at the visa, asking about your stamps and so on. It never was like this. And now we have this progress. We want to succeed. Alexander, I would like to say, I would try to be very practical. I do believe that we have the members of the parliament who would really like to get the economics out of shadow and to get the economy, the investment. We have to have the transparent business to have the investment. So we have to start with ourselves. And I'm not paying bribes, or if I'm giving bribes, I'm paying with the marked money. But so if we're going to unite the white business, and this is our coalition for the shadowing of the economics with more than 20 entrepreneurs and associations. So we'll be doing not just talking about this, not just saying let us work in this field, but let us have this legal offers also for the MPs. Viktor Krivenko, the MP who has been asking this question, if you're going to support this legislation project, then one of the problems is the shadow economies. Yes, the shadow economy that is 40%. This is something that we do, and the new law 7142, it was really of a high discussion even in our association also. And you don't need to get the customer officer to get out of this, not to get him bribing, but you just have to give the legislation mechanism for they would be able to sell the illegally imported goods. And I don't think that people know that much, but we have mentioned it before about the shoes and the clothes. I would like to welcome you in our association, maybe because I understand how hard it is for you. But then again, there's like a huge shops with clothes and shoes, and even the jewelry networks. They don't have any kind of certification documents of their goods, and they say we're the private entrepreneurs. And we don't have to have any kind of accountability has to be made and reporting has to be. But you can sell a lot of things, that illegal things in Ukraine legally. And the 7142, it's something they have to fight. And everyone's saying you're hitting the small business and medium business, and a lot of people have the coalition inside of our association. Like starting from 150 square meters, there's nothing about the markets. We, the businessmen, we have to look each other in the eye and say that let us work in a fair way, in a just way. And I hope there's going to be less populists in the parliament, and we're going to have this project improved, and we're going to laugh a couple of years after. How can we even talk about it? No licensing and no certificates in the big shops. So we have to change it, and together in our coalition we have to do something. Yes, look, I'll try to be very short, very brief. I would like to agree with Tatiana. You have to just do something. Natalia, I'm sorry. Yes, I just have to say that I agree that you have to do, you don't have to wait for something. And if speaking about the IT industry, like what do we need from the state? Yes, not interfere. That's the first thing, because if we speak of IT industry, for the last 15 years, without any kind of support of the state, we just had almost like 20 years growth. So please just do not interfere. Well, it keep on working, and okay, it has to be shown. But okay, Andriy, we need a lot of new cool people. We need a lot of new cool people, and those new cool people, they grow up from children. And what I want to say that we're now developing lots of brands, and I really like to use our brands. But this morning, I was tying the Zeitung for my daughter, who's now attending the Novopecherska school, the project of Vasily Khmelnytsky, and I see the notebooks for the design that my company has been, and I would like to end up with the project of Novopecherska school, the happiness of children, and the pride of the parents. If they're going to have children with different mindset, they're just going to devastate everything we don't like. So make kids and be happy. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much for caring about this topic, for being here. And thank you for feeling the emotion that our speakers have given to you. And you have felt not just the emotions and the words, and just to make a brief a brief summary of what is going to be like this: freedom, we're bound to succeed, and faith in success. The team, stability, trust, stability of the inner markets, joining the foreign markets, working not in vacuum, to get away after your closest and work with the business when you did it. Your reputation, your brand, your pride, your dignity, the understanding that the changes are really important, because the changes are not only making you move forward, but the changes are creating the next generation. Think globally, create high quality products. Don't be afraid to be sincere, and be yourself. And why I am here? Why do I believe in entrepreneurship? Even though I have the experience in working in the state service, in public service, I worked in media segments and so on. Once, in 1997, I had a book by Richard Branson, his autobiography. Maybe someone recalls how it was called. Yes, losing virginity. So do not be afraid of hurting yourself and move forward. You cannot succeed without that. Thank you, everyone.